Hello. So I've been wanting to do a part 2 for a couple of days, but it's just been non-stop raining, so this is the first chance that I've got. Although it's just started raining again. I don't know, it's sod's law, isn't it? Or harp, maybe. Maybe it's harp, or maybe I'll try not to be too paranoid and just say that it's sod's law. My voice isn't very loud. I'm not a very loud speaker, so I was kind of struggling to hear the last video. I had to wear headphones to actually hear myself speak, so yeah, sorry, I apologise for not being very loud. I've wrote myself some notes as well because obviously I've had a chance to think about this the last couple of days that I was going to make a part 2, so I wanted to kind of, I had a chance to kind of think it over and write a couple of things down that I wanted to not forget, I've been thinking more as I'm walking here, so I probably will forget stuff anyway. I think we kind of left off where the Romanian member of staff had kind of said, just to kind of go back on that a little bit, when you signed out to go out for a cigarette or whatever, they took a note of what time you were leaving, what clothes you were wearing. So that's what I mean by wearing leggings and a black top under the clothes that I was wearing. I took those off and put them in a bag that I'd kept in my pocket. It was to try and, I thought I was kind of trying to fool them in some way, that they might have the police after me and they would give them a description of what I was wearing, so I wanted to be wearing something different. So that's what I mean by getting changed on the bus. I just took the trousers and the top that I had on top off, and I already had a black outfit on underneath, so that was where she was going with the it's getting so cold, I need to wear leggings under my trousers, But a few more things. So that's wrong notes. The names of the people within the hospital, the staff and the patients' names were all very much directed towards me. They were really significant in my life, or if you said their names backwards, it would have specific meaning, So that seemed very odd to me at the time. Let me just reiterate that this was like maybe 6 months or so after I'd been kind of forced out of my house, and after I'd been kind of forced out of where I lived. So I hadn't heard of gangstalking or anything at this time. I knew that shit was happening to me, and I'd heard of psyops, but my mind was too fucked at that time to really think that my whole life had been a psyop. I wasn't ready to kind of accept that, my whole life had been kind of mind controlled, or this shit had been going on around me. I was very much kind of unaware of what was happening. So I did play out some of this stuff as kind of being coincidences, and maybe gaslit myself a little bit by thinking I was reading too much into it. I never ever thought that I was having some kind of mental break, because I'd remembered, although they drugged me when they came into my home, I'd remembered what they'd done. I was drinking a lot at that time. I could drink 2 litres of vodka over the course of kind of 2 days. My drinking tolerance was off the fucking chart. I'm surprised I never killed myself actually with alcohol poisoning. So I think that's why whatever it was that they give me, Rohypnol or whatever it was, when they came into my house and they roofied me, I think that's why I had memories after it, because my alcohol tolerance at that point, my alcohol tolerance level was so high. I think otherwise I wouldn't have remembered this stuff, and that's what kind of panicked them a little bit, So their names, it seemed like they would play out scenarios, So they would play out little skits like street theatre about parts of my life, staff and patients alike, I really do think, thinking back, think that some of these patients were actually actors. I think that they were brought into the hospital, and I know that sounds fucking paranoid. Some people aren't kind of ready to hear this stuff, but these people have a budget that's inexhaustible, that it's unlimited budget. That this is, these are like the shadow government. These people run the whole of the world, so to think that they're going to be able to put a few actors in a hospital, to fuck with me is not too far-fetched really. But honestly, some of them were. There was a woman and she had really short hair, but I was stood behind her once waiting to get a meal, and she had hair extensions in her hair, and I thought, that's fucking odd. You're kind of trying to disguise your real hair. It just seemed really weird for the situation and the character that she was trying to portray herself as. And she was one of those people that would very much use play out scenarios in front of me and kind of use directed conversation. There were some really nice people there. I mean, staff and patients alike, there were really nice people. Some of the staff were really nice. The ones that weren't involved, a lot of them were involved. A lot of them would take part. There was ones who wouldn't really take part. They wouldn't really use the kind of conversation or carry out these scenarios themselves, but I could tell that they were absolutely aware of what was going on, and they weren't doing anything to stop it, you know. They would kind of look at me like, you know, like we're sorry kind of thing, but, you know, it's out of our hands type way, you know. There was other ones that would just look at me with total disgust. One of the psychiatrists was one of them. You know, he'd obviously been sold some kind of narrative, or was kind of going with that in his own brain, you know, to make out that I was some kind of hate figure. But some of them really had no idea what was going on, and they were really nice people. And the same with the patients, you know. There was some really, really nice people there. There was a girl that I got really friendly with, and we used to kind of hang about. She'd managed to get a weed vape in, and I asked her if she could get me one. I gave her the money, and she managed to get someone to smuggle in me a weed vape. So we were just kind of stoned a lot of the time, you know, and we were just chatting shit. And she was a really nice person. She was here. They were making her hear voices, and they had her on some really fucking serious medication. You know, I wish I was still in contact with her, because she was a really, really nice person, and I think about her quite a lot. You know, what it was that they were doing to her. I had no idea at this at the time. I mean, she just thought she was schizophrenic, and I was just going with that at the time. You know, that was her diagnosis at the time. Obviously, kind of 3 years further down the line as I am now, you know, I can kind of see a wee bit more of what it was that they were doing to her. But again, she was from Liverpool. My dad's a Scouser. This hospital was in the south of England. It's quite unusual to have someone from Liverpool, you know, there. So again, that was another kind of scenario, you know, a part of my life that they were kind of playing out around me, if you know what I mean. So there was definitely actors in there, you know. They would again play out fucking stupid scenarios. I said about the weed vape. that and the diazepam was the only fucking things that got me through that. Honestly, I was in such a fucking chilled out mood. I still didn't want to be alive at that point. I'd lost everything, you know. But without the fact that they were giving me massive doses of diazepam to chill me the fuck out, and I had this weed vape at my disposal, that was really the only way that I got. I think I was there. I was trying to think on the way here how long they held me there, and it was around about 5 months. I think it was over 5 months actually, about 5.5 months, which is a fucking crazy amount of time for going and telling that you'd been cuckooed out your house, basically. You know, they held me there with no reason, and like I said, I was very chilled out on the drugs that they were giving me and the drugs that I'd managed to get hold of myself. But otherwise, I was just doing the crosswords in the papers every day and reading. You know, I wasn't fucking causing any drama or stress or anything. So, you know, it seems a bit bad, doesn't it? But they had my whole family involved, so no one was kind of speaking up for me. You know, no one was. They weren't going to anyone, and no one was kind of coming in and going, "Hey, this isn't right." I mean, I had nobody in my corner, so they were quite able to do this. You know, to hold me hostage for 5.5 months. Yeah, sorry. So when they eventually let me go, I had more to say. I was thinking when I was walking up here, there's something else, and it's totally gone from my mind now. I can't remember. Yeah, when they let me go, they knew that I had nowhere to live, because I'd sold my car and everything. So they put me up in a B&B for I think they paid for 2 weeks, and they said, we'll help you kind of get on your feet. We'll signpost you to these services. They'll get involved, etc., etc. That very first night, they'd let me go with 2 weeks worth of medication, and I was on, like I said, really high doses of diazepam. So the first thing I did was, when I checked into the B&B, is I went straight to the shop and I bought myself a litre bottle of vodka. I went back to my room and I wrote myself a note to my children, just a really short note, you know, just saying that I love you, that I'll always love you, that I'm really sorry, you know. And then I took all the 2 weeks worth of diazepam and I drank the bottle of vodka. You know, there was no one meant to come to my room that day. They said that the crisis team or the after admission team were going to come and see me the next day. But somehow, you know, someone found me in my room. I don't remember. I woke up in hospital the next day. And this doctor came up to me when I woke up. And he said, you know, it's this double speak that they use, and these things really stay with me. Some of the things that people have said to me throughout my life, and they kind of have alternate meaning depending on what way you look at them, you know. And he was a really nice doctor, and he said, I read your note, and I kind of went, all right, okay. And he goes, you know, we had to cause you a lot of pain to wake you up. And at the time, you know, and for a long time after it, until I kind of realised, until I learned more and more about this programme that I'm in, I kind of thought he was just referring to, you know, the paramedics that obviously came into my room. Somehow someone had alerted them. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't conscious enough to realise what was happening. But I presumed that he was talking about the paramedics. It's only thinking about it afterwards that I kind of think, was he really talking about my life? You know, the pain that they had to cause me in my life, like totally destroy my life to kind of wake me up in a kind of, someone's letting their dog run about behind me to try and put me off, to try and wake me up, and I kind of, you know, wake up, and I kind of, you know, like I'm awakened now, like I realise what's kind of going on in the world. Is that what he was really referring to me? They had to cause me ultimate pain to get me to realise the world is what it is, you know. I don't know. I think about that sometimes. I think about a lot of the kind of double speak that lots of them use, you know. So anyway, that suicide note that I left, that disappeared. That's I don't know, the paramedics or whatever gave it to the police, and it's in the system somewhere. I'm sure if eventually they manage to kill me in some way and make it look like a suicide, this will be waved as the white flag with them. You know, they've got they've got this at their disposal to use, go to anyone who might actually give a shit. Look, she killed herself and she left a note. You know. So I'm sure that they've got that filed somewhere, kept safe, you know, for them for later use. But anyway, because of that, obviously they readmitted me straight back to the mental hospital again, because you don't get to try and kill yourself without getting a kind of readmittance. That time they gave me, I check my time, they gave me antipsychotics. They gave me antipsychotics that time, said that I was psychotic. They actually never really gave me a diagnosis the whole time that I was there. I remember going into, you have weekly meetings with a psychiatrist, and one week I went in and he said, have you ever heard of ADHD? And I don't think I was bothering talking to them at that time. I didn't want to communicate with them. You know, these cunts had held me there for months at this point. And I just kind of went, oh, whatever, you know, I'm not interested. And the next week I went in and he goes, the same guy, he said, have you ever heard of bipolar? And I said, so last week you were talking about ADHD, now you're talking about bipolar. And he goes, we don't prescribe Ritalin. I'm going, what are you fucking talking about? I'd never mentioned anything about Ritalin. I'm not interested in your drugs, you know. I'm not here as some junkie trying to get drugs off you. Like, I don't fucking care what it is that you're trying to give me, but it just kind of shows that they've got no clue, you know. They're just fucking grabbing things out the air, grabbing imaginary diagnoses out the air. Diagnoses, is that the right word? I don't know. Just to have something on paper, you know, to kind of push it home that you're mental and you're not to be believed about anything that you've been through, you know, anything that the police have done to you, any of the kind of rapes that anyone else has done to you, you know, these people that were put in your life and were paid money to have a relationship with you, and they're being benefited. I mean, I refer to them as rapists. You can't be anything else if you're not honest about the type of person who you are. You know, that's not. I don't have the ability to consent to a relationship with people like that, and the other, you know, rapes that we'll not talk about just now. So yeah, the antipsychotics eventually put me on them, and I did take them for about a week or so. And I was getting lockjaw and I was getting restless legs. So I thought, I don't want to feel like this, you know. So I stopped taking them. I was taking them and I was just going back to my room and spitting them down the toilet. Although these symptoms continued, you know, for months and months after that, which I find quite extraordinary, since they would have been out of my system within a couple of days. But yeah, I think they were practicing kind of whatever weaponry it was that they were using on me at that time. Anyway, I've probably run out of time, so I'll maybe talk about this some more, because it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Anyway, take care. God bless. Lots of love to you all.